relaxing.
I think slow Sundays are the best because from Monday it all goes down here.
Yeah.
So yeah, welcome guys to our first gathering for the Kgosi Film Circle. This has been an idea that's been circling in my mind, and I think I finally had time to execute it. So thank you for making this a reality. If you've joined this platform, I think you have an idea on who I am. I'm Atlahang. I created these platforms. You know, we have a book club and now we have a movie club, and I've really enjoyed creating and engaging with this community. So I think as a start, let's just introduce each other to each other, because I think going forward, I'm hoping this is a regular cohort to talk about movies. I'll hand it over to Tebogo.
Thanks, Kgosi. I am Tebogo and I am based in Pretoria, Garangua to be exact. So I love books, I love movies, I love everything that has to do with text actually. So platforms like these, I am such a huge fan because they're not only do you get to interpret someone else's work, but you also get to hear other people's opinion, and that is just fantastic. So kudos to you, Kgosi, for creating such platforms. You know, so necessary.
Thank you. I think I'm happy to have people join, because one thing I like about these platforms is that it involves people who are not necessarily all introverts.
Mm.
So I like the cross-border interaction, and yeah. So thank you so much Taba, for joining. I think when you have your sessions at the State Theatre, you need to let us know so that we can come and support you.
Absolutely, I will.
And then next up we have Kangelwa. I don't think you've been on mute because I've been hearing myself.
Sorry about that. Hi everyone. My name is Kangelwa. I am based in the Eastern Cape. I'm part of the Kgosi Book Club, as you might have seen me comment in there. Yeah, I love films, and I appreciate the platform to just talk through how we view them. Looking forward to the discussion.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, Kangelwa. And then I think this is the first time I see this name, Abigail Kangongo.
Yeah, hi. So I'm Abigail. I'm from Kenya. I've been following your TikTok page for a long time, but I've seen a lot more of the reading, the book club for the books. I'm getting into books, but I'm more of a film person, so it's so good to just see this film space here, and I'm looking forward to just hearing different perspectives and about the film and just discussing it. Thank you.
I think you're the first person here who's not from actually the book club. So I must admit, when I had this idea, I thought, is it going to work? Am I going to dilute what my page is trying to push? But I'm happy that, it's attracting different people who may not necessarily be readers, but are interested in the different art forms. So thank you so much for joining us, Abigail.
It's great to be here.
And then lastly, we have Leon. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Is that Leon or Leonie?
It's Leonie. Hi guys.
Welcome.
My name is Leon Daniel Shimhlanga. I am originally from Zimbabwe, Beitbridge, but I'm currently based in Zimbabwe, Harare. Um, I'm happy to be here. I don't really watch a lot of black movies or American movies. I only watch Koreans. So I'm just
Okay.
happy. So I'm just so excited to get into other movies. I was strictly Korean. I love me, those fake romances. I'm just delusional. That's all I can say.
Okay, interesting. So I'm assuming everybody that's on the call has at least watched the movie, right?
Yes, I've
Yes,
watched
Is
the
that a yes?
movie.
I watched the
Okay.
movie.
For the people who voted for this specific movie, why did you want us to watch this specific movie? I must admit, I didn't vote. I normally just go with what the majority says. I don't always vote because I want, unless if it's like a tiebreaker, but I always want the community to vote for what we're reading or watching.
Okay.
I'll go first and say I voted because I saw the title had the majority of the votes. So I said, I'm going to go with the people's voice. So that's why I voted for it. And I had not seen it before, nor have I even heard of the movie before. Only when it came out here as a suggestion in the group that I went and watched. And yeah, I'm not like you, Leon, with your Dululu, with your Korean, but I very much often watch like your Western, your European movies more. So it was a quite a treat for me to I say a treat to get to watch the boy who hunts. Yeah, but I only voted because the majority had already voted. So the person who suggested it must come forward and tell us why they suggested this one.
I'm not even sure if the person who suggested it is on the call, but I did like a random poll twice, and I saw that people voted for this movie. So yeah, for me, my mother has watched it before, but when she watched it, I didn't watch it. Then she told me what it was about, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this is a nice movie," but I never got around to watching it. So, if there's anybody else who voted for it on the call, why? Why did you vote for the boy who harnessed the wind?
I just loved the title. It didn't give suffering. And I also saw like the trailer and I didn't see a white person. So I was like, yeah, there's no Blake slavery here. I can do this. I can watch this.
Leon, you see the title, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind, and automatically you don't think there's suffering there?
No, not like suffering from white people, okay?
Oh,
Suffering.
okay. Oh, okay.
I
Okay.
also watched the trailer first and I didn't see a white man. So I was like, yeah, this
Got
because
you. Got
those
you.
other films, they give me stress. They give me anxiety. Yeah, that's why.
Okay. And so, based on, is there anybody else who'd like to chime in on why they voted for the movie?
I didn't vote for it. I probably joined the film page where after people had voted. I realized that it was already picked for this week, but I had watched the movie a while back, I think around 2020, when it was locked down, and I enjoyed it, so I didn't mind it now that it was picked.
Okay. And thanks for adding that in. Tebogo and Leonie, since it was the first time you guys were watching the movie, what did you think it was going to be about just based on the title? Oh, I think, Leonie, you watched the trailer.
I did. I watched the trailer, not looking for a storyline, but looking for the white man. Just to prep myself. I felt like I just needed to prep myself to say, is there like black slavery, people being hidden and all that? So when I didn't see that, I was like, yeah, okay, let's see
You can watch.
where it goes. I literally had no idea, honestly. I just watched the trailer looking for a white man.
And you didn't find your white man.
And I didn't. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna watch this.
So if there was a white man, we wouldn't have had you on the call today.
I would have been here, but I would have been so mad. You catch my anger, my wrath. Yeah.
And Tebogo, you, what did you think it was? What did you think it was about?
When I first saw the title, I didn't even bother going to the trailer because I was like, I don't want to have an premeditated idea of what this is about. Let me just click play and let me just get into it. But with the title, I thought it was either going to be a race, somebody running from something, like Boy on the Run, something like that. Just something that had to do with either running or racing or doing something. I did not expect that at all, but it made sense after having watched the movie and after it ended. I was like, okay, now the title makes sense now that I've watched it. Then I get why they called it what they called it. But before I knew what it was called, I thought I was going like, I'm just gonna see boys running somewhere, running from something or running towards something, or like a donkey race or a horse race. You know how they used to like race all those animals back then. I had that in mind, and then after I was just like, oh, okay, so it's got nothing to do with that kind of win. It had a completely different approach.
Hmm. Okay. I'm always like, especially from book titles. I always have a thought like based on book titles and book covers. What do people think the story is actually going to be? Because sometimes I don't watch the trailer or read the synopsis. I will read a book or watch something just based on, on the title.
Yeah.
And well, unfortunately for me, my mother had already told me what this movie was about. So when people voted for it, I was like, oh, it's a familiar pick. Mm. Abigail, had you watched this movie before?
No, but I remember when it came out first, there was a hype on it, but I didn't watch it because that wasn't my type of film at the time as well. But from the title, I kind of knew it was inspirational. And then I think it was the first part after seeing that they were having famine and all that, I just knew it's going to be something about uh, creating something out of wind. So yeah.
Okay. I guess it is given away in the title. So stepping into the movie, I think the movie has an interesting sort of start. The movie starts with a death, right? And
Mm.
I think that kind of sets the tone for the rest of the meeting, for the rest of the movie. But I think for me, one thing that I didn't understand, and I sent you guys a text in the group, was first of all, who was the old man that passed away first? And then, like, those dancing dolls, I don't even know what to call them. Like, what is that all about?
Okay. The guy that died was William's father's brother, right? And he
Okay.
owned a piece of land that he left for his son and not William's dad. So then they got to then harvest all those trees that then led to the flooding and grain, whatever, losing harvest, and. So I think they just wanted to show that William's dad lost the land and control over the that barricade. That because okay, from a science perspective, those trees, you see those tall trees, they take up to like 100 liters of water per day. So when
Okay.
they are there, So when they are there, the flooding and everything just has low risk. It happens in areas that we have here in Zim around Nyanga. They've got those lot of trees, and those areas are still protected today because they actually do help with flooding. Like so, the fact that
Oh,
those tobacco people were just harvesting everything, it did leave the land bare and oversaturated, and they didn't get to then harvest. So I think they just wanted to show that William's dad lost the land that was going to help them keep the harvest of some sort. I don't know if I'm explaining it correctly. And then those dancing dolls.
you are explaining it. Mm-hmm.
And then the dancing dolls in Zim, we have them here. They are called the Rigure. and Shona. It's more like a tradition of some sort, African tradition of some sort. So I don't know how what they call them there in Malawi and how they do it. But here it's like it's their own little religion of some sort. That is a bit traditional. So I guess they
Okay.
just come there to honor and all that.
Okay, okay. I was a bit confused as to what they are. I have seen them in like I think a few Nigerian movies, but I think they may be specific to that culture. And then but I think they kept on reoccurring throughout the movie, and that also threw me off further on. And so
I think that the
after the funeral,
dolls, yeah, I think the dolls are to
well,
maybe what celebrate the life of the person that has passed, because as much as it is a sad situation being a funeral, they come in dancing, beating drums, joyful, with those masks on and all that. So I think it's a way of celebrating the death. Also, the guy that died, his death was what it seemed natural. So maybe they were like his life served its purpose. It was not an accident of some sort. So they celebrated his departure or something. That's how I took it. But then I realized as the movie went on, when the famine was intense, now they were not there, and then they later came back when things kind of improved.
okay, okay. Because I kept seeing them reoccurring throughout especially one. I saw one of that doll face keep reappearing throughout the movie, and I was like, but I'm so confused. Like, why does this person keep coming back? It's Michael, ne? Is
Yeah.
Michael's like seeing things? Is this like a real, you know, what is the significance of these statues or dolls or whatnot as they keep reoccurring through specifically the one with that big doll face? For me, that was something that I kept thinking about.
Maybe
Is there
if
anything?
I
Oh, I saw
can
Mbali
try
join.
to. Oh, sorry.
Yes, coming, Tabo.
Yeah, I said maybe if I can try to break it down for us this side in South Africa. You know, when we have traditional healers, right? Like here, and I took it as, you know, when a traditional healer
Yes,
dies, they will have all of those other traditional healers who will put on their
yes,
regalia and dance for them and celebrate their lives and so on and so on. And it is believed in some cultures that when one person passes away, there's another that embodies their spirit, meaning there is another one that is going to continue sort of living through them. So I interpreted that as the spirit of the person that passed has then started living through, as the reoccurrence was that spirit coming through. You know, it's just that cross culture, it's sort of, it's very difficult to understand, because you want to interpret it like in my culture Kastswana, I wanted to interpret it in that way, and it didn't make sense. But when I was speaking to a Zulu person about it, I was like, yeah, that perfectly makes a perfect sense. So it took me back to the spiritual realm to say, oh, then in traditional healing, because then that involves everybody, all cultures, all spiritual beliefs, then that is what happens. Like when the people, like that's why sometimes you hear a lot of traditional healers say they don't go to funerals, because they are afraid of being the one that's chosen to carry on the spirit of the departed moving forward. So I thought that's how it happened in my head when I was digging deep, and I was like, hey, I think I'm going too far in my mind with these beliefs. I was about to drive myself crazy, and I was like, woo, I'm gonna stop going to funerals. Just now I come back with another spirit. Yeah, but that's how it landed
that
in my
is such
head. So,
an. I didn't even think of it that far. I just thought maybe they're like. I actually thought they were a figment of imagination. So I didn't even go with it that far. So I think thanks for breaking it down like that. It makes much more sense. And that is, I think, why I enjoy spaces like this, because we come with different perspectives to break down something that and sometimes you bring up something that somebody else didn't even pick up when they were watching. So thanks for that. Tebogo. Mbali, I see you've joined us.
Yes, evening everybody. Sorry I joined a bit late.
It's okay.
No problem. How are you doing? How was your Sunday? Did you watch the movie?
Doing well. Hectic Sunday, and yes, I did watch the movie. It was a good movie.
And just when you did you vote for the movie actually?
I did because the title was familiar, and I think I had the recommendation to watch the movie before from somebody. So when I saw it, I was like, actually, let me pick this so I can watch it finally.
And when you like picked it and you watched it, what did you think it was going to be about?
I definitely knew. I mean, from the title, I think the title gives it away. So I knew it had to do with some boys, something to do with the wind. But as I watched more of it, I realized, oh, the wind is going to be some sort of like a solution to the crisis, starvation crisis that they're facing. It's only like later on that I was like, oh, creating the windmill. And yeah, so I think the title pretty much gives it away. I don't know. For me, it did give it away. It's like the boy with the striped pajamas, even though it's like, of course, you don't know how sad of a story it is, but like, yeah, the striped pajamas boy. So something's about to happen to him, or something's gonna happen around him. But yeah.
Okay, and thank you so much for sharing that, Mbali. You watched the movie. That we were just discussing the opening scene. I asked who was the person who passed away, and then I also asked about those dancing dolls. When you were watching them, what was your interpretation of them?
Yeah, you see, I didn't care about those dolls until I saw in the WhatsApp group. When I think you said it, you were like, what are these dolls? So I was like, hey, oh, I don't know, maybe I watched too many Nigerian movies. So it didn't faze me. Like I was just like, no. I think when there's a funeral, someone has passed, it's just part of the tradition that they come and maybe they carry the spirit, or maybe they communicate to the spiritual realm that one of us has passed on. So I didn't think much of it. Like, and it happened twice until I saw your message. I was like, oh, oh, okay. Yeah. So I didn't really think much of it. When I saw it, I was like, I think it's a practice that when one of us is passed, they just have to do this ritual. Yeah, I didn't think too much of it actually.
Okay, I think maybe then I need to watch. Okay. I think I need to watch more Nigerian films. Yeah. I think, and then as the movie progresses, we are introduced to it's Michael, ne, the main character. We are introduced to his family and what they do for survival. We are also introduced to the crisis that they're currently facing, which is, and I think Langa Leone explained this earlier on. So I understand that this movie is not typically something that we would just watch out of the bat and just select, right? For all of us that don't watch African films regularly, what was the feeling or the thought when you delved into the movie and you could see how the people are living and their current state of life?
I think for me, it really reminded me more of we have the Kamba tribe in Kenya, so it reminded me of that setting whereby it's dry, people are just struggling to survive. I don't know, for me, it gave me that feeling as opposed to like people who are in the highlands, which is the opposite. But it gave also a feeling of you could just see from the beginning of the movie there's a lot of struggle and you know struggle to survive in such an environment. Yeah.
Mm. Leonie, you're normally used to watching Korean movies, so I think this was a different setting for you.
It was definitely a different setting, that's for sure. But it did feel like I think they did well in the casting and where they shot it from because I when I then look at like our where I come from, like our village life, my grandma's house and everything. You see that house with the red bricks, that one. We have it at our house. That's my grandmother's kitchen. I'm telling you guys. That's for real. So I think they really did well when it comes to the setting and everything. And I just realized that if I am ever to go to Malawi, it won't be hard for me to learn the language. They are sort of words that borrow from our language here in Shona. I don't know which language they were speaking there in that movie. I didn't research about it. But yeah, it's there are a lot of words that are similar. So yeah, I think that's what I was like, yeah, this is a good like African based movie. I think I just loved it in general. But the people were struggling. We don't struggle like that, but we are the same.
My South African people who have joined me, she said we don't struggle like that. So when I watched it, I was like, yo, like, yeah, I haven't seen a struggle like this in my life personally. And it just took me to a place of thinking if I was in the situation, like, what would I do? This seems like really a hard knock life. And I think for the South Africans on the call, we are not living in a setting like that. So how did it feel for you to be presented with that on your screen?
Kgosi, just to comment on something, when I said we don't struggle like that, I was talking about me and my family. Though we have a house like that, it's not that hard for us. But in our village, honestly, there people who just survive on farming, and when there is no rain, it's tough for them. I'm just saying we
Mm,
don't have shoes, but some of the students that my mom teaches, they don't have shoes. Like winter, they don't have shoes. Summer, it's just like that. The uniform is torn. So the excitement that William got when he first got the uniform, it's something that I've seen when those donors, because we have donors here like Comfort and Beam, you can see the smile that comes to those kids when they get new uniforms, new shoes. So yeah, in Zim we do
mm,
have a setup like that, and it's still there.
okay. I think we also have a similar setup in South Africa. And I don't want to say it's less common because it is there. I just think for us on the call, it's something that we are not exposed to on a daily basis. And maybe I'm speaking from a point of privilege, but yeah, guys, to the South Africans on the call, please chime in on this. Bali?
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna go with you on. Oh, Bali's raised her hand up. Yeah, go with him, Bali first.
Okay, Karina, thank you. I was gonna say it is I think we are more on the privilege. I know in South Africa we say there is no middle class, but I guess
Come back, guys.
no, it's I guess like yeah, middle class, upper class, whatever you want to call it. But we do still have people in the rural traditional settings who live a life that we can't imagine, like, having to walk kilometers and kilometers for an education, or not even getting an education because, depending on the weather, or depending on food supply at home. But it is a reality. So when I saw that, it wasn't like a culture shock that, oh my God, people live like that. It was more of a reminder that as much as we think we are progressing, or even though individually as people we might be progressing in life, there's a a number of people. There's a whole group, lot of people that we are leaving behind. Yeah, it is. It's just crazy that the world of haves and have-nots is just coexist, but in such different ways. You know, like how technology is advancing so much. Like people are scared that AI is going to replace their jobs and stuff. And I often think there are people who can't even fathom the idea of having like a phone. Like, you know, just getting like a phone is like a big deal. And the rest of us are so far into like technology advancement and all these things that we think that is where the world is going. But in my head, I'm like, I can promise you, we are definitely not going to be living with aliens and stuff when there's a whole lot of other people who've never gotten to experience a bit of what we've experienced. Um, so yeah, I wasn't too culture shocked. It was just another reminder that life isn't always what I just get to experience, you know, doing what I'm doing right now, being on a call and talking to people who are across the world and everything. There are people who just don't even have access to the smallest of gadget or internet or all of these things. But yeah, it wasn't too culture shocking. It was just another reminder that there is that form of life elsewhere that is not my current reality. Yeah.
Thank you so much
Angela.
for your input. It was very insightful. I think Angela had her hand up next.
Yes. Yes. So for me, that whole situation was really difficult. I literally cried. I don't know if I was being hormonal or what, but this movie made me cry just to see people struggling that much, and then also just to see how the government was tone deaf in their situation, because as much as they tried to explain the implications of cutting the trees, the government just did not care. And then also when they also tried to bargain with the people that actually had ownership over that land, they also just were selfish and sold the land and left. And for me, it was really just the vulnerability of Black people to poverty, one bad decision by the government, and people get so exposed. And to bring that to a South African context, I mean, thinking about the high unemployment rates, companies, I guess, go under and people are left with no sort of income. So yeah, it was really just triggering. And um to be honest, I didn't even think about it something that's too far away, because I do have a sense that the struggle is all over. It's global, it's everywhere. You really just don't know what your situation will be, maybe next year or whenever. And yeah.
Thank you so much, Kangela, for your input. That was also very insightful. Um, yeah, Abigail, you are next in line.
Yeah. So like just the same way Mbali said, for me I was shocked that I think it was set up in 2001 and I was expecting something like 1980 or 1970 because at the time when I think on my back when in 2001 I thought that things like wind energy and those things they were common too. They'll probably be common in such places. But that's what I thought it would maybe be before like wind energy was a big thing. But I think by that time it was known. So it was just shocking that, and the way the boy, because I can imagine at that age, I wasn't thinking anything like that. In my head, I was just like, these are things that the government solves, and these are things that should be catered for. But to see the way that the boy, he was so young, and he still thought in that way. I mean, it just shows how different. I was thinking when you were that age, around that age, and around that time. Yeah.
I think he was just so smart, and she was, Yeah, you're right. For somebody that young, he was just thinking about great things. I want to touch on something that Leonie mentioned earlier on about the excitement of receiving uniform. I think school in this movie played a big role, and the main character was very keen to go to school and he had a thirst for learning, but also school was seen as a beacon of hope. And then he went to school for a bit, but then his parents couldn't afford to pay school fees anymore. For me, it left me with a kind of with a sadness that, I think in South Africa the drive is that school should be free, but it just showed me the reality that school is actually a business in many parts of the world. And even though it's such an essential right, that is not always the case. If you cannot pay your school fees, then you cannot come to school. So I just would like you to hear your guys' thoughts around that. And Teboho, your hand is up.
Yeah. Thanks, Kgosi. I wanted to chime in on that fact. I've never thought, when you go through life and you're growing up, you always think there are so many people who are privileged and they have access to this, you have access to that. I would never ever be in a position where I'm speaking from a point of privilege. It has always been my thought, because in everything that I do, even when I speak publicly, I always say we are the bottom feeders. I always relate to myself in that way, so that I relate to the people who are at a below standard, so to put it. Until I watched this movie and I realized that I have to speak on this, and I'm like, wait, what? So now I'm gonna be that person that's speaking from a point of privilege. What is this movie doing to me? Because you sit there and then you watch everything that you have. I was literally looking at everything. I was like, I can actually go outside and go to the store right now, pick anything that I'm craving, and come back and sit here and continue with my life. Those people can't do that. And when you're in our black families, they will always tell you, we come from the homelands, we come from the homelands. But they're speaking about generations ago. We only hear the stories. We didn't live that life. So even when we say, yes, our descendants and our ancestors are from the homelands, we were never in the homeland. This is all we know. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm sitting here and I'm talking from a point of privilege. What has happened to my life? And then it makes you realize that actually the very thing that we take for granted is the very thing that somebody would do anything for. For me, it took me there. It took me to that point. And like, I cannot believe I have shoes in my cupboard that I don't even know when the last time I wore them was. Like, I don't remember. I have my son who hasn't, like, we don't, it's stuff that we don't think twice about. But there is that one person out there who will do anything for that one pair of shoes that you no longer need, that you even forgot you have. And I was sitting there like, yo, this is why we watch so many white movies, because we always want to watch what people would the haves and not the have-nots, because then we don't want to think about this stuff. We don't want to. It's hard to check in with yourself to say, I really have been ungrateful. I've been a spoiled brat. I could have done better. I could have been more grateful for this and that. It hit a note, like Kangela said. Sometimes you end up wanting to cry, thinking, oh my God, like I'm just so grateful, Lord. Thank you for my life. Thank you. Even though sometimes you go to bed thinking, I hate my life, but you go and say, you know what, thank you for my life. Thank you for the things that I have. So it was a crazy one when you look at it from that point. I was like, yo, what a wake up call this is.
To build up on your point before we delve into the school issue, for me, that point, it was when I started this question, it was for me, it was more thinking about food, right? Because there's a point in the movie where they have harvested all that they have and they're saying this food is not going to last us for the next 12 months. It's only going to last us for a certain period of time. And then even that little that they have is stolen from them, and they can only get grain from the government, and even getting that grain is a hassle. And so for me, it took me to that point of, yo, I get the chat around clothes and everything else, but food. Like they can't even go to a shop right down the road and buy bread because that grain is going to be needed for that, you know. And I just kept thinking, like, if you cannot eat, like, what can you do? Like that and I don't like the feeling of hunger. It's something that I don't like at all. And it just took me back to that place, and I was like, I'm so grateful that I have like access to food because yeah, no, it really took me to a dark space in my head. Leonie, your hand is up.
I just wanna add on the food part. For me, also the food also made me feel from like we are privileged in Sim. We do get those trucks, but then we don't fight for them, and we don't like buy from the government. You just get your name registered with the chief, and when they come, they just know Kuti and the home state. Or for example, Kuti, at our home state, my grandmother has 8 kids, and of the 8 kids, seven are working, one is unemployed. She's a granny, so she gets so much, so much. They just look at the social status. So they have got some who are not working full time, and they get more of the maize. And those that are a bit privileged, they do get, but not much. They just get sometimes. Sometimes it's maize, sometimes it's the maize meal itself. And I remember in primary, we once got barley, and I recently found out that barley is for feeding horses. Yo, I used to love it. Yo, we, we used to get it at school. And sometimes they do have like feeding schemes in schools. You guys don't laugh.
I'm laughing because there's a soup mix that I love that has barley, and Woolworth sells barley, and it's really expensive.
You guys, let me tell you, if you ask any Zimbabwean, maybe maybe 2005 going back in terms
Yeah.
of being born, they will tell you that they love barley and beans at school. Hey, you'll just be thinking about lunch. Like, when lunch, Jay, I'm going to get barley. So I recently was telling my colleague to say, oh, I miss barley. And then she looked at me. She's from a privilege. And she was like, barley is for feeding horses. What do you mean? So we do get those stuff from school. Sometimes the government just sends out meals and just says the schools should have a feeding scheme, especially if there is any chances of drought. So they just make sure that the kids get to eat at school, like for lunch, and then go home because they know at home they will try to budget for supper only. So that thing, you see, parents think about, it's hard to sleep when you have not eaten. It's true, and our Zimbabwean government, have just noticed that. So they make sure if it's drought season, there's just mealies, you get porridge, whatever is there for that time, and then you can go home and eat that one meal that your parents will be eating at the end of the day. So yeah,
I want to talk about programs in South Africa. Sorry for cutting you off. Please continue.
no, it's okay. You can continue.
Oh, I was just saying, I wonder if we have similar programs in South Africa, there in the village. I wonder.
The
Abigail, your
school
hand is up.
feeding schemes are there. The school feeding schemes are there. I think the distribution of food, they only do that when we're about to have elections. Then they would have food parcels that they would maybe hand out, but those are not on a need basis. They just give to whoever is there so that the people vote for them. But the feeding scheme is there in government schools.
Yeah.
Okay. Abigail, your hand is up.
Yeah, I think just on the food part, I think also one part of the film that touched me was when his dog died. And so they just depicted the dog dying, and it was there. But I went and I think I researched more, and in the book, I think he says that they had to strangle or kill the dog out of, it was I think a mercy killing because they didn't have food. So you can imagine a boy at that age, because I used to have a pet at that age. He was called Canvas, somehow the same with the dog. And I could not imagine deciding to do that because there's no other option. There's also that part whereby he was trying to sneak in food for the dog, and then the dad was like, "No, don't do that. If you do that, we're not going to give you food." So I think him losing also his pet as, because I think it was more of a friend because he used to accompany him everywhere. That was a bit touching as well for me.
Sorry, I was speaking on mute. Thank you for sharing that. I just wanted to ask, what were your thoughts on the importance of school within the society? Leonie and then Mbali.
I would say for me, the movie did actually affirm the thought that school is very important. I come from a less privileged society, you know, and I can tell you, I have been in so many spaces where I am the only vendor person, in as much as it has given me privilege to say people then hire me because they're like, a vendor person, how? And then they give me a place. For example, when I wanted to get into like varsity, I got a place because the guy was like, so you can speak vendor. How do you greet me? And then I just got into a class that I did not qualify for. Trust me, what I did in high school and what I did in my varsity, in my degree, two complete different things. But it then did hit home to the fact that my society is so less privileged. Like nobody really thinks about going to school and but yeah, it's sad. And also the did you see how that headmaster threw out that William out of the class and like calling names and like if your name is called, well in my instance they don't call out you out and then you stay. So like so and so, we are yet to call out the people who have not paid school fees. Leonie, and then you carry your bag. Abigail, I have been
You carry
I
your
have
bag
been in
out
that
of school.
situation. It's embarrassing and it's traumatic. I when he was crying in that class, I just saw myself. I cried that day. My fees was paid though. I just didn't have the POP, but it was traumatic.
Mm, mm. I can imagine for a young child who wants to go to school how they're feeling in that situation. Mbali, your hand is up.
Yeah, I think the schooling thing was also something that touched me a lot, because I think the fact that there was somehow this sense of importance, um, with the family. I mean, with even the sister Annie, that she was, due to go to varsity. I think it's such a big deal that William and Annie have to get an education. I mean, when they got the school uniform and how excited they were, that actually really touched me. And it was also crazy how, speaking to what Tebogo said, um, education is a privilege to some extent. I think we know that at least in South Africa, we have the right to free and accessible education. But oh man, it just sucks that there isn't a culture that makes people yearn, be hungry for that kind of education, because people probably don't see what the bigger picture is. Like, what will it do for me? I mean, at some point, that boy, all he wanted to do was just be in a library where he can read more on electricity and energy. you know. And when all he wanted to do was just be in the library, it just made me feel so, I don't know, like I had this yearning to just take whatever he has and just implant it in all the other kids that we have in this country. Because I think in our country right now, we have a situation where between our education system not being the greatest and also not having a generation of kids who understand the value and the impact and the privilege, I guess, in quotation marks, of having an education and what can do and what that can do for you. Um, yeah, is yeah, it touched me a lot. It just, yeah, I mean, again, seeing the library, being a book lover, and just seeing how William, or like, he just wanted to be in that library and get as much knowledge and information as possible. And he believed himself so much. Like, he was so stern in, like, whatever I'm gonna get from here, I know I can use. Um, but yeah, was a very interesting and heartwarming site. Yeah.
Thank you, Mbali, for your input. Kangela, your hand is up.
Yeah, I felt like William, in his first day, he had to be asked about school fees, and then he further realizes that his parents do not afford this school fees. And then just seeing him trying to sneak into class, he seemed like a boy that loved learning. And yes, the schooling system in his country failed him dismally because the school had to close, and for him to have access to that library and then stumble into that book and kind of maybe use it as a solution to his problems at home. I felt like that was super unfair for him to face that at such a young age.
Thank you, Kangela. Is there anybody else who'd like to add in around the schooling system and Michael's yearning? Is it Michael or David, guys? I get so confused.
William.
William. Oh, William's yearning for education. But I see what I did notice though is that even amongst his peers, he was the one who was yearning to go to school, or maybe even if the other ones did have the yearning to go to school, it wasn't portrayed as much as it was for him. It's almost like he even wanted to sleep at school.
Mm, mm, mm. I think for me, he knew that education was the only key that he had to success, to a better life. And because he was not exposed to anything else, he felt like he needed to hang on to that for dear life. Like, kind of like, us, when we know we have access to this kind of education. I mean, you see, even though some of us have the opportunity to pursue to go further our studies, we don't, because we have other options, we have other avenues that we want to get into. He had zero options, and he believed that if I don't get into that library, that is it for me. If I don't learn more about this thing, that is it for me. I mean, Kgosi, you might even be a host of a TV show tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? You might get a radio show tomorrow. You have options. For him, that was it. Education was it. And for me, it touched me so much, because you look at our generation today, we literally have to force kids to go to school. It's a fight. We have to convince our siblings, we have to fight with our own children to say, get an education. They don't have that hunger anymore, because they don't appreciate the value of it. And with education comes opportunity. And I think that's what we're missing quite a lot with this whole education thing. Is it's not that we are getting knowledge. Yes, we're getting knowledge and all of that, but we're getting opportunity, we're getting exposure, because there are some programs or some things you can only access when you have gone to a certain school. you can only access, like you can see now with different high schools, there are kids in certain high schools, they get to play certain types of sports, not because they want to play the sport, it's because they are in a position where they are exposed to that kind of thing. So he had nothing, he had just that land, he had like, not, we can't even say land per se, because it with the seasons it was also a struggle, but all he had was school. And the way that he hung on to that thing, it's unbelievable. It's like how most of us hang on to dying relationships. Like, I'm not leaving this relationship, I'm staying. He was like, I am not leaving school, I'm staying.
Why are you now attacking me, Tebuho? What am I
Sorry,
doing?
sorry. Sorry, Leon. I was just making an example as keys, as keys.
I'll catch it straight, okay? No, no. Oh,
And it's so unfortunate. Thank you, Tebogo, for highlighting that. It's so unfortunate that there was a struggle between him, his father wanting him to concentrate on farming, and then he just wanted to go to school so that he'd be able to, better himself. Angela, your hand is up.
Yeah, I would also like to highlight that he also knew that he had potential. I mean, he was fixing radios way before he even went to school. He had this problem solver kind of a mentality. Even in their horrible dire situation, he was busy looking for batteries, just and pumps, and just thinking how he can use those to solve the problem that they were currently facing. So he knew that education could work for him, because also his first test, I don't know if it was maths or science, he got 62%, and he was told that that's not good enough. I mean, it was the first test, so he was brilliant and he knew it. And it's good that he trusted that instinct to the end.
Mm. We are thrown into a world where he's thrown out of school because he can't afford to pay school fees. And then I think just things go haywire within society. We are introduced to the politicians who come canvassing, and then they promise certain things, and then when the chief makes a speech, the chief is attacked. I'd just like to hear your thoughts on the depiction of African politicians and politics, especially in relation to poor communities. Leonie, your hand is up.
for us in Zim, I think we're gotten to breathe now. Our former president, RG Mugabe, you wouldn't dare say anything even if you were in your house and your dogs are locked and it's the middle of the night. You wouldn't say anything. It was so, he was feared. Like people would say, if you would just comment what that guy did, like when he was saying all those things, in my mind, I just knew. I thought they were going to kill him. That's where my mind went. But the fact that they just hit him was just, or even the fact that those young boys got to run with him, it was like, oh, okay, we love that. And that is the part that I thought was a bit fixed now. I don't think in a real setup you can get to do that with our country, Zimbabwe. In as much as people are now able to talk about our current president, it doesn't seem so much phased about people saying, all those kind of stuff about him. But our former president, God rest his soul, when I tell you, I think I was young and the people were just, the prices were just going up, 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 up. The inflation was going up. He just made an announcement and he said, what did he say? I don't know what he said about the price of bread. And he said, if you charge that price of bread, you better give that person eggs and tea. Everybody got straight in order. So I think for me, it did. seem a bit fictional, to the fact that they got to go and like rescue him, and that the chief got to say those things on a mic with the president there. I don't think it's something that you can do in an African setup. Maybe for South Africa, you guys have your president cupcake, but even if a TikTok page makes fun of our president, people start commenting like, "Are you insured? Do you have insurance?" When the president is passing, you don't take out your phone. You don't. I pass by the State House every day when I'm going to work. There is a, I don't. When you get there, you just feel the need to just keep quiet and just pass the State House. If there are people make jokes to say when somebody says like, "Ngicela lingehlise lapha e-State House," people will look at you like, when the president is passing, you just move to the side. You don't need to. When that first bike says, if they see you standing there on the road, they will show you your mark. Hey. So I think for me that was a bit fictional, the fact that the guy got to speak, or if that's what happened, since it's based on a true story. I don't know, but it was that was the part that I felt like, I think this is a little bit of fiction. Yeah.
It's very interesting to get a different perspective from another country because it's not
Mm.
the case in South Africa. Abigail, your hand is up.
I think I'm going to be on the opposite side of Leon, because in Kenya, that I felt it was a very clear, it was perfect depiction of what happens. Number one, I can relate to two presidents. The second president, who was a dictator, he was a full-on dictator. Most of the people who opposed him, they did oppose him, but they were mostly leaders, not the normal type of people. But they used to be taken to, you used to call it Moi chambers, where you're taken and you're tortured. You're taken there for months and months and you're tortured. But that was back in 1980s, whereby we didn't have any social media or anything like that. There was nothing. So now I can relate it to the current president that we have. He does that same thing. Anyone, okay, I think, you know, we had the, last year we had a lot of riots and a lot of what do you call it, the demonstrations, and that is exactly what he used to do. And when you could even see, like, they would just, when he identified somebody who was doing anything, mostly the normal people, those, they would just, when these people describe the abductions, because we call them abduction, it's the same exact thing that happened. They just find you somewhere in the road or in the shop or something, and they just take you. And then you're taken to, I'm not quite sure where, but you're just taken there. Some came, some died, I think. But the good thing now is that we have some people record these things and they're able to see. And then we have people online who are always like ready to fight for these people, because anytime somebody is abducted, there's always a campaign, and then they come back. And also in terms of like the way you're saying that people don't question the president, like for us, when it comes to Twitter or TikTok, we openly criticize him. Like our president has like a page on TikTok. If you ever go there, any post that he posts, everything is just reject you. You know, you say Ruto must go. There's always something bad. Majority of the comments are bad. So I think for us, we're openly doing it. But yeah, I think it's different for us right now.
Thank you for giving us a perspective from your country. I think that's more aligned to the South African experience. Kangela, your hand is up.
So I read up on this Malawi political climate, and I stumbled into a paper that narrates the political situation in that country. I think since the 60s, when they first got independence. Yeah, I think the black leaders, specifically, I think the one that was mentioned in that paper was Banda. He was brutal, a dictator, and yeah, he really, really oppressed the people, took over the economy, literally, a sad situation. Well, I didn't get to read up around the 2001 period, but just looking at that movie, things hadn't improved because the government seemed to be very selfish with the mentality that for them to be rich or anything, there has to be a group of people that goes without or that suffers, which is really, really unfortunate for such a group of people to be in power. And I read through that and I felt so lucky to be a South African because I think in South Africa, the government does fear the will of the people here. I don't know if there could ever be us having fought and won the fight over the apartheid government. I don't know if there could ever be a black government that would come and oppress us to such an extent. It's bad.
I wonder. I think that could be a movie that could be reimagined. It's giving Animal Farm Part 2. I'd like us to talk about the relationship between David's sister and the school teacher. What did you guys think about that, and how she ran away because then there would be one less mouth to feed, and therefore she's aiding the suffering?
For me, the relationship felt wrong in the essence when the mother spoke about it and she said, "I we vowed to ourselves that we'll never like pray for rain. We'll take our kids to school, and this is the school where I brought my kid at, and she met the teacher." And then she says, "And I paid for it." Do you understand that? That scene really broke me. I was like, oh my God, this is. At first, I was like, oh, so sweet. They are dating and everything. And then I realized that he was head teacher. Unfortunately, it happens quite often. I know a number of people who have married teachers that taught them. And now that I look at it, it's not right. I don't think it's right. And the fact that she ran away, I she just wanted to go with her man. It had nothing to do with mouths to feed for me. I don't I think she just wanted to just, I don't know, find something to write in her parents' letter. But even when she was just saying, no, I don't want to go, I was giving, babes, you want to go away now. Because her reason of not wanting to go was saying she doesn't know the language, how you want to go to university and you're telling me you don't know how to learn other people's languages. Oh my God, you want to go away now. Aye. So yeah, that was my opinion.
I actually didn't notice that. I didn't pick up that the school teacher was her school teacher. So this is news to me. Mbali, your hand is up.
Even
Yo,
the
I need to come in because I'm like, hey, Leon, I don't know if she really was just trying to go with her man, but I can see it, but I don't know, hey. Because for me, I feel like after she had that conversation saying, listen, I can't go, I don't know the language. And do you even, I mean, she asked, like, do you have the money to pay the bride price now? And the guy's like, no. I think at that point she was like, yeah, I don't know. It's only when William needed that dynamo that I think that decision, so the dynamo and the hunger that they were experiencing at the time, coupled with the fact that, I mean, this is my man, and maybe it's not such a bad thing to go, was like the combination of factors that drove her to say, you know what, I will leave. But of course, I have to give a reason why I'm leaving. So I'm not going to say, hey, I'm leaving because I need to give William this dynamo so he can test out if this windmill thing is really going to work. So maybe it's more
Mm.
sensible to say, guys, you can see the situation is bad. If you don't have to feed one more mouth, then why not? So for me, I actually thought, because when William had that conversation with her to say, hey Annie, please go talk to your mans. I need that dynamo. I need that dynamo. And the next thing we wake up, Annie is gone. The dynamo is there. She's written a letter, one less mouth to feed. So I was like, all the factors were, they were aligning. They were pushing her towards going with her man. She was never going to leave. But then other scenarios came into play and they were like, you know what, girl, get up and leave. So that's my take.
Now that's another pass I missed, guys. I wonder what movie I was watching. I didn't even know that she left the dynamo before she left. So she did her duty, Shem. She contributed to the plan. Tangela?
She did. That's why I'm like, it can't just she left for her man. That windmill would not have happened without any getting a man to leave the dynamo.
No,
That's
guys.
The whole time I was
No.
just like hormones, hormones, hormones. The hormones. When those
She wanted to
hormones
go with
get you,
her
you
man.
pack a bag and leave.
She wanted to go with her bags. Like Usisi just wanted to leave with her man.
Yeah.
Even you see, she even asked and said, "Mom, how did you know that Dad is the one?" Everybody is thinking about sending you to varsity, and when she didn't even go to varsity, in fact, she went ahead and had 4 babies with her man. Ah,
Yes.
See,
I
she
She wanted to procreate. I was so mad at her. I would have slapped her. I mean, we are hungry. We don't know what we're going to eat, and all you busy with Mucho. She frustrated me, more especially in the scene where she was angry. So
mm.
when the rapists stole their food and they almost raped them, and then when the dad came home, I don't know where he was, but he was out hustling or something, and she cried blaming him for not being there to protect her. And I felt like this cry, I do get that she was exposed to danger, but to make him feel that guilt, I feel like she was manipulating him just so that he doesn't feel bad. He doesn't blame her when she leaves with the guy eventually. Yeah, but yeah, her tantrums were really annoying me.
And if you saw at the end of the video, Usisi is a yellow bone.
Ah.
Justice for Annie, please. Be like, no,
She's
poor
a yellow
Annie.
bone. She was like, I am not doing this village thing. But I also blame her mom. Her mom always says there's nothing for you in Wimbu. Like she felt her mom was the one who programmed her to feel good. She'll never get enough here in the village.
Mm.
There's nothing for her there.
no, but she
And then she
said
was
that
now
because of the
conflicted and saying
university.
she was now conflicted in the fact that should I leave here for varsity or there's literally nothing for me here, but there's my man's. I mean,
And
we
she
can
chose the
go.
best.
Okay, guys.
Tebogo, your hand is up.
Yeah, thanks, Josie. I also want to put an emphasis on the fact that we also have to look at the fact that as women and in those kinds of situations, even now, not even in those kinds of situations only, we are often told that your success is a man. Like as a woman, we are just expected to get married and make babies, and that's it. That's it for you. That is your only goal in life. I mean, I even spoke about a riddle earlier today when somebody once asked a question and said, if a father and a son are in a car accident and then the father does not make it, when the boy is taken to hospital, a person walks in and the doctor says, I can't operate on this boy because he's my son. When people were trying to solve that riddle, everybody was going, maybe because the son had two dads, or maybe because nobody ever thought the mother would be the doctor, because we always assume, why would the mom be the doctor? The father has to be the doctor. So it's we the women are as a little, I'm getting tongue tied. Us as women, we are just expected to get a man, get married, have babies. That's your success. That's it. And that's why Mugela went for the man. But I was really upset at her. I really was. I didn't look at it as a fact that one less mouth to feed, and this and that. I was like, girl, with everything that your family is going through, you're gonna pick a man. That is what you're gonna do right now. You gonna pick a man, girl. You're not gonna stay and do something like like just try and do something, sell something, make stuff, do something. You're gonna choose a man. So, but after a while, I was like, you know what? It's fine. As women, that's the expectation anyway. So, but I was very upset. I was looking at her sideways, and I kept saying, "Damn these hormones! Hormones will make you pack a bag."
But she was probably like, the grass is greener where I'm going, and I'm gonna be with my man.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, she had her own plan and she executed on it. Stepping away from her, now leaving, they're still suffering, and then I think this is where the title of the movie starts sitting in properly, where David notices that he needs his dad's bicycle. He really needs the bicycle. He thinks he can solve the issue that the village has. He gets the bicycle from his dad by force or not by force, and he creates the windmill, and then there's water, and then the movie is over. Yay, the village is now okay. I don't know if there's parts that I missed, and I'm gladly happy to have a discussion around those parts that I missed throughout the movie. But I do feel like 80% of the movie was just concentrated on the suffering that was happening in society, and then only 20% or so was focused on the innovation and the children in technology aspect of the movie, which from the title I thought would make up most of the movie. What do you guys think about that? Am I clocking it right, or was I watching the wrong movie? Mbali and then Abigail.
So I definitely had the same sentiment, that the actual innovation part of the movie and the, you know, getting through, just finding out what do we need and how do we get it and stuff was left and done very quick towards the end. In fact, there's a part where when William keeps on insisting on getting the bike, the dad is just acting up. I got mad at him because I was like, dude, there is no plan, there is no solution. This boy has shown you that there's a potential something that's at play here, and you keep on insisting to keep this bike, and this bike is doing nothing. Like, it's not adding anything. Like, it's not like you're going to fetch more grain, you're not fetching water or anything. Give the damn boy the damn bike. And even at the point where he had to go recruit his friends, I don't know if they were trying to like think, maybe they was like, let's all go together. If there's more of us, maybe this man will change his mind. But I really, really got frustrated with the dad there, because I was like, you're at your most direst of situations. There's nothing to lose. You've lost it all. You don't even have food, and he's gone. Give the damn boy the bike, you know. And I don't know what he had to come to. That because I think they sit down and they have a conversation there, and the man is like, "Oh, you need this bike, hey?" He's like, "Yeah, I think I can do this." Then he's like, "Okay, take the bike," and then everything just happens, and hooray! Now we have water. But I did have a bit of a frustration moment with the dad there, because I felt like all your plans have not been working. The one plan that William has, you're not even trying to invest in. But yeah, fully agree with you there that the whole innovation part of the movie was left to the last bit. And I guess they didn't drag us along in terms of like, they could have tried the experiment and then it fails for a few weeks and then people are frustrated because everybody has invested. This thing is not working, William. So maybe as a happy ending, just everything had to happen so fast. Because I did have a little bit of a holding my breath there because I was like, oh, this thing better work, this thing better work, this thing better work. Like everybody now has invested and then it did actually just work. But then a part of me was like, that happened so quickly. But I guess that's a kumbaya story in retrospect when they had to write about the story. Probably didn't happen like that in true life. But yeah, that's my take. But yeah, same sentiment there on 90 or so plus of the movie was about the suffering and then the solution came at the very end.
Thank you for sharing that, Mbali. At least I wasn't going crazy. We have Abigail, then we go Kangela, and then Leonie.
Yeah, I really actually didn't think of it, but yeah, I felt like the solution did come really fast because I was thinking it's very hard for you to do something and then automatically it works out. There has to be some bit of struggle there. But also, I think the part that really got me was when they were in the farm, and then the father, when he was giving the dad the idea, and then the dad just did a whole outburst. I think for me, I feel like I'm not sure, but most African, maybe the ones that I know, there's usually a certain outburst they can give when you're trying to push something, the agenda that they don't want you to have. That has happened in my life, and it wasn't like something like that, but it was just little things. But then in that way, I also saw that it was his dad projecting some of his insecurities of his failures, because he had tried a lot of different things, and then maybe he was looking at it, he was just projecting something towards his son. But I would like to have known how he changed along the way, because it just went immediately to the fact that he's changed. But I would have liked to understand what made him change his mind. Yeah, I think that's how I felt.
Thank you so much, Abigail. Yeah, I also, I think I would have liked to see the journey of how do we get to a working windmill, specifically because I think that's how the movie is positioned. But eventually we have water in the end. Kangela, you are next.
Okay, so I think the whole innovation bit, William did it on his own for the most part, where he is fixing the radios, just trying to, just understanding how energy works and all that. So he learns that all by himself, and it looks like his dad is not really interested in it other than for the making money part of it, because he had his friends bringing their radios in for William to fix, but he never, I don't see how he supported his passion. But then now, when he needed the bicycle to create parts for the mail, I did get why he resisted at first, because that's his mode of transport. It's not like the bicycle was broken just sitting there. He could use it and then he had nothing to lose. I mean, he used it to go around, so it meant something to him. And then also this whole innovating thing, as much as William fixed radios and all, he didn't take it serious. He didn't see it as something that could fix bigger problems, and bringing water. And then also he didn't seem like he's educated enough to understand what William is trying to say to him, because I remember the scene where they are in the fields, he's trying to plow, and then he's in there trying to pitch his idea, and it becomes apparent that he just doesn't understand what he is saying. He doesn't get it. He doesn't have the education for it. So I could understand why he would say no, because it seemed like William just wants to play with his bicycle, because he literally did not know how he's actually going to pull this off, which is also typical of black parents. They are not pro supporting kids when it comes to, I would say, things that they have never seen. They will take you to school, maybe support you through what they know or have seen to succeed. But if you come with an idea that they have never seen, they have no idea of what you're talking about, they resist such. Yeah, so I could understand where the dad was coming from. Yeah, it was said that William had to struggle that much to get to the solution. About the innovation bit being just a small portion of the movie. Well, the putting the thing together seemed straightforward because you had already tried and looked for the parts and all of it. So when it was time to put it together, you knew exactly what to do. You had the batteries and all that. It was just a matter of putting it together. So I could see why it was kind of straightforward. It didn't require a lot of testing, trial and error because he had already learned and knew what he was talking about.
Ah, okay. I hear you, Kangela. You came with perspective there. Leonie, your hand is up.
For me, I'd say the outbursts that William's dad had really was a bit traumatic for me and a bit like I was bored. I was like, yo, when allow. But at the same time, I did understand him in the essence that this is just how African parents react to everything. It's like you take it to say, you tell your parents that, you know what, I don't want to do medicine anymore. I feel like I want to do development studies, or no, I want to do sociology. Hey, hey, they'll just eat you alive. Because, for example, William's dad is trying to, he's just trying to work and in a very I don't know, unfavorable condition. And then his son is just coming to say, I'm going to take that one valuable thing that you have left. Because you remember they did get rid of their chroma deck roofing and they put thatch to sell already. So already the bicycle was the only thing of value that he had. And the fact that his son just came in with it, William didn't pitch it to his dad to say, Dad, this is how a windmill works. So if I do this and if I put the pump, William was just like, I can make the rain. I can make sorry, I can make it rain. And it just didn't make sense to him. And after that, he said that the only difference between me and you is that as school. That was a bit of an insult to his dad. And I think that also led to him having that huge outburst to say, then you should learn how to farm then. Because this school thing of yours, you're now talking about taking something that is of value to me. And what led to William's dad changing is the fact that you remember William's friends, some of them said they are going to the north. And then the mother said to William's dad, how many things have I lost ever since I started following you? I lost my parents, I lost Annie, and then we lost our last beast of grain. And then I think she didn't say it out loud, but she was just saying, if you do not give William this bike, he's going to follow his friends, and I'm gonna lose my son. And that's when they went and had that conversation when William was burying his dog. So I think that it was more of a, he was guilt trapped into giving that bike. He didn't really like give it, like to say I'm supporting my son, but more like, you know what, okay, I don't want to lose my son because already it looks like I am blamed for if things are. He cried because his wife blamed him for losing all those stuff. I think that's what led him to then give the bicycle to. Yeah, he was guilt tripped. He was emotionally blackmailed into giving that bike. He didn't want to.
It's a good thing that they eventually guilt tricked him into giving up the bike, because then they had water and the windmill was working, and they lived happily ever after. And then I think that's all when the movie ended, that David went to other schools outside of the country. He was in South Africa at the African Leadership Academy, and then he was in the USA. So I wonder where he is in life right now. We've got about 20 minutes, so I want to know, are there any parts of the movie that you liked, that you guys would like to discuss? Overall, I think for me, the acting was, I think it was just a good movie. It was a good movie with a lot of life lessons. Just typically a movie that I wouldn't want to watch because of the suffering. But yeah, guys, are there any points that we missed that you would like to discuss?
Okay, for me, maybe I'm curious. There was a time when the boys were going to threaten the dad so that they can give him, so that he can give up the bicycle. What? I didn't understand that part quite well. What was the intention?
I think they were going to intimidate him to give up the bicycle. They were like, if you don't give us the bicycle, we're going to beat you up.
But I think they gave up. He didn't go anywhere. I was just,
I think it's very out of character for, I don't know, it would have been a very weird scene, because they beat him up and then they get the bicycle, and then what? For me, it seemed like something that it was very out of character for them, but they were doing it out of desperation.
wow, maybe.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, I think I want to chime in on the fact, the bicycle. I think for me, what stood out the most, I didn't think that the father was resisting with the bike. For if the bike was gonna remain a bike, I think he would have given it up. I think it was more the fact that he was saying, we are going to tear it apart, you know. That is just what brought on the resistance, and that stood out for me in the sense that, imagine somebody saying, I like your books and I want to have all your books, but not to read or keep them, to start a fire with them. I mean, I think a lot of us would be like, wait, what? A book must remain a book. So for him, I think if William was gonna borrow the bike to still use it as a bike, it would have been a matter of, you can have it, we can share it, it's fine. But now you're telling me this only thing that we have that is of value, that we use it for this, you're gonna tear it apart. You need it can't be a bike anymore, because you need the wheels, because you need the, I mean, I think that is what brought on the resistance. And for me, I also thought at some point I was like, give the boy a bike, but then also I was like, ish, mara boy, loy, naman, like, ish, ish, like, isn't there something else? Like, can't the bike remain a bike and still do the thing and still harness the wind as a bike? But I sort of understood it in that for me really stuck. I think that for the whole movie that still stuck with me. That conversation alone. Like, imagine somebody saying to you, the thing that you have, I want it, but not to use it the way that you use it, to completely tear it apart. Like, I wanna take your house from you and turn it into, I almost said another bad word, but like, imagine that. So I think that's where and the resistance came from, and it's hard when you think about it. So that stayed with me the most.
I hear you, and that's where my mind also was, because when he said, I need your bicycle, but we're going to have to tear it apart, initially I was like, okay, it's just a bicycle. But then I remembered the context. It's like somebody asking for your car and saying, I'm going to tear it apart, and you're not going to be able to use it anymore. And you're not sure if what they think they're going to use it for is going to be a
It's gonna
success.
work.
So that's
Yeah.
where the headspace was at. But if it's books and they say, I want Wahala, I'm going to give it to them to start a fire. Mbali, your hand is up.
I was gonna say that analogy that Tebogo gave about, imagine someone borrowing your books to start a fire. I was like, oh wait, hold up. Okay, if that's what the bike meant to the dad, okay, fine, I get it. Because I wouldn't. But yeah, clearly we have we have a book or two that would like to contribute towards the fire. I was gonna say Abigail. I think it was more for like a the boys, all the guys came for more like a moral support and to attest to the fact that, like, listen, we've seen William do something. Because remember, he had done that small windmill thing, testing it for the radio. And this was prior to him even showing his dad at the farm that, he has this thing. So I think he tried to bring the friends along to be like, listen, if you guys are there and you guys can speak to him and be like, listen, he has something. We saw it. Like, all of us saw it with our own two eyes. This man is onto something. And we agree with him that this bike is probably going to change a lot of things. So, can we get it? So, I don't know if intimidation was also part of the plan because they didn't even get far with that they didn't even try anything. In fact, they just went, you know what, dude, we tried to speak to him. He said no, so guess it's over. Bye. So I think, yeah, I initially thought he brought the friends along just so they can be like a voice of reason and attestation that he has tried something. There's an experiment already on the go, and I think he can do something even bigger if he gets the bike. But yeah, that's my take.
Mbali, I think me and you have different interpretations. Now I thought they were ready, they were ready to beat him down. Leonie?
For me, I'll just to say for first, William went with them to prove to them as well that this thing works to his friends first, because the other guy asked him, like, if you think this thing works, why can't you get your father's bike? Get it. And then he just felt the need to say, you know what, let's go and let you guys see me ask for the bike as well. And also, I don't know if you guys do this. More like, you remember when you were young and you want to go to a party, and now you have to rile up everyone to go and explain to your strict mother that you'll be back by 6 o'clock, ooh, ini, because my mother wanted even your mother to call her to say, yo, bring Leon, but we're going to bring her at 6 o'clock, that kind of thing. I think that was what was in their mind to say, like, if we go together as kids, maybe he's going to understand. You know how African parents are, they just want to be, I don't know. I can see what happens in their mind. Sometimes they just want, that group to say, no, it's gonna be us. We're going to be the six of us. That thing to say you can trust us with your bike and we know what we are doing. But I also feel like he just also met them with that to say, are you here to attack me? You know, like he was already on defense mode to say, you think you're a man now? You think you're all grown up? He didn't even want to hear them. When he saw them coming, the first thing that he said was like, so you want to fight me? And they were not there for that. And when he just started being a bit physical, they were like, yo, we are out of here. But I think William wanted to prove a point to them. And they also felt the need to say, let us go and support him as well.
Okay. Hey, you broke down. You really watched this movie. Like you were invested in this movie.
I think she even took down notes. I think
There
she
was no
wrote down
writing
Yeah.
notes.
notes, that's why.
She's busy referring to her notes here and coming. Or she's also watching on the side because I'm like, guy, Leone is on point. Oh. And to think I watched it twice. I've got nothing on you, Leone.
Yeah.
Like,
She
I
felt
waited
safe with the
until
other white people.
you guys, let me
And
tell
you
you
don't even
something.
like watching African or a Korean drama.
Guys, when it comes to movies, my memory is just very sharp when it comes to those things. Like, I know things when it comes to movies or anything. So Yeah, more like that to say when I like something, I'll have where I just refer to say how. I'll even like backtrack to say, is this what you said? And yeah, so
Okay, okay, okay. Are there any other parts? We've got about 10 minutes left. Are there any other parts that you guys were not clear on that you'd like us to discuss before we close off? If not, were there any disappointing parts where you just thought this didn't need to be part of the movie?
It was uh, my for my pettiness. This is totally has got nothing to do with anything but being petty. Because I was like, how much was the budget for this movie? You know, I know times
I
are
don't think
hard and it's set up in a, but at least this, like, my thing was, how much was their budget? Because even the people's lips were dry, guys. Even the lips were dry. I'm like, I know we're suffering. I know we are in the trenches, but we have nothing to put on the lips too. Like, there's really no Vaseline, no sunblock, nothing.
food. Lips are the last thing that we can do.
I swear my pitchy self was like, oh, there's got to be something. How much that this movie was shot on
So
zero budget.
for the
I'm telling
okay,
you.
let's see what ChatGPT says. But I don't think it would have been a high budget because the executive producer is an actor.
Or maybe they got paid well. Maybe a lot of the money went into paying the actors, the talent, and the crew, and all that stuff. But I was like, but everything was minimal from the set to the wardrobe to the everything was bare minimal.
Okay, this is like a real
I
play,
feel like
like a
they
real
tried so hard to be in touch with reality. Guys, this is based on a true story. And it's the time of
True.
Hannah, guys. So I feel like the wardrobe was on point. This is how they dress. You know,
Yeah,
I
as I
it's
Um,
opened
just
with
that I'm
that's
not
me just being
home.
petty. I just felt like, yo.
You guys, it's just that I'm not home. It's just that I'm not home. I would have taken a picture of these other Tommies that I wear when I go to the farm. All my toes will be out like this.
Please don't make us laugh at other people's situations like this. Leonie Kuzeka, man. What is wrong with you? And Leonie is uncorrigible.
I'm just trying to explain to you that I feel like they tried their best to make sure that they truly tried to put out the situation at hand. For
yeah.
me,
I got
honestly,
that. I got that. But like after we finish this conversation, please somebody just go back to the videos and just watch Annie's face. It's like, huh, nothing. There's nothing that can be done.
I guess when you're hungry, putting on Vaseline is the last thing on your mind.
like
I
what they
suppose.
You don't care
I
anymore.
suppose.
there's no money for food, there's no money for
Like,
Vaseline.
why would you worry about ashy lips? Like, so what if
You
they
know,
are
I was worried, but also, what is wrong with us? We are having a good old laugh over a sad movie. Like,
I don't know. I'm just trying to say from my side, I feel like when it comes to the wardrobe, the setup and everything,
mm-hmm.
they really tried to make sure that it was in touch with reality as much as possible. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
you have no like a clear picture of how it is in the
Poverty.
villages and in such kind of situation of poverty. But I'm just telling you from my side to say, you see those torn clothes, those are the things that I wear when I'm at home and I want to go to the farms, or when I'm sleeping and somebody from the next village calls my mom and be like, you see those bells that they put on kettles? They'll call at 4 a.m. and be like, we had your bells here, your cows are on this side. And it's on a Wednesday, and Friday we have dipping sessions for those cows. When I wake up, guys, I have these other shoes of mine. They're so but they're so torn. All my toes will be outside. I don't know how, but I'm just saying that's just the reality of it all. Honestly,
Makes sense. Makes sense.
yes. When you spend a day at the farm and you haven't eaten anything, you even forget to lick your lips to say, oh my God, maybe my lips are dry. Let me try to just lick them that they have a bit of a shine. It's the last thing on your mind. So I can imagine for
No, that
them, and they are already in hunger. It's just something else. Yeah.
while we still have you on the line, Leonie, what do you take away from movie? From the movie? What are your closing thoughts?
For me, I feel like what do you say, the title of the movie, I feel like William's name should have been a part of that because it's his story after all. So I feel like maybe they could have just say William, the boy that harnessed the wind, or a man or genius William or whatever. Because I actually thought when they said based on a true story, I didn't think like it was like a true 100% story. It was at the end of it when I realized that it's his story and just a short clip of him talking about it on TV, or it was on TV or what. But I just feel like they had to include him on the title as well to say it's his story. And oh my God, I am disappointed in Anne. She didn't even go to school. She had 4 kids on top of that. Yo, anyway, nah. But I also feel like it also really made me feel like in Africa. So I'm gonna personal vendetta against Annie. If I meet you, I'm gonna give it to her like, girl, you needed to do better. Like your husband is a teacher and you didn't feel the need to go to university. Awa. But also, I think it also made me realize that in Africa, we still have a long way to go. I think Abigail was the one who said it was in 2001. That's a bit too close for such circumstances and situations. But yeah, that's it as well. So my takeaway home was like we are the same in Africa and we still need to push for this technology, innovation, and all other things. We have a long way to go. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Leonie. Can't wait to have you on the next discussion. Hope you're as in depth. Abigail?
Yeah, I think for me it's that probably necessity leads to innovation. But one thing I was so shocked is that this boy was this young and he thought of it. Like when I was that young, I don't know what I was doing. So that is the part that really caught me. Like it made me feel like, okay, if I was put in that situation, what should I have been doing? And even considering at the age that I am, what am I also doing? But I think it made me also. I'm in a point in life where I really want to move more into like purposeful, like doing something of meaning with my life somehow. So I think it triggered me in that sense. And but I'm still figuring it out. But that is the thing. This is how he saw it and he went for it. And I think he's also doing well now. So yeah, good for him.
Hmm. Thank you for joining our first meeting. Looking forward to having more discussions with you in our next movie sessions. Tebogo?
Firstly, I want to do a where are they now? Like,
Yes.
seeing that
Oh, well, we know
this
that
is
in here.
based on a true story. Where are they now? And like Leonie said something, this wasn't long ago, it wasn't that long ago. So that was a big reality check for me that this is possible, that not even possible, it is happening, that there are people today in such situations. And my takeaway was, number one, I'm definitely not doing enough because look at William. I'm like, what do you mean you that brilliant at that age? Like Abigail said, I'm still figuring some things out. So number one, I'm not doing enough. Number two, I'm sitting from a point, I'm speaking from a point of privilege, and I could never ever, like, I have no right to take anything for granted. Absolutely no right. So that was my takeaway from that. And again, this platform is so enlightening in a sense that we watched the same movie, but we didn't watch the same movie. You know what I mean?
Yes.
We have so many different opinions. Now I share your opinions as well as I share mine. I sometimes somewhere along the line I even question mine. So this is yeah. How many of us are here in the panel? That's the number of times we've watched this movie. So yeah, thank you for this.
Thank you for joining. Kangela, what are your closing thoughts?
Well, I enjoyed the movie. It was my second time watching it. I guess the second time around, I kind of paid more attention and saw things I didn't see the first time. But then it actually got me thinking, well, there is suffering in the story. And unfortunately for Black people, their lives is riddled with suffering somewhere, somehow. But their stories do deserve to be told and they do deserve to be consumed. I mean, besides the suffering that happened here, there is something to learn or to take away from the movie. And I enjoyed it. Well, the suffering did, I did get emotional and all, but it didn't get me thinking, should I switch this off? I don't want to see it anymore kind of feeling. So, yeah. That's my takeaway.
Thank you so much. And then lastly, Mbali, and then I'll close.
Oh, I'm glad I watched the movie finally. Thank you for everybody who also voted for it. Um, I would definitely recommend it to somebody else to watch. Always eye-opening for me to watch a movie from an experience that is not too close to home, but it's something that I can see being a reality for other people. And yeah, I enjoyed it. It was really a good movie. Definitely would highly recommend. And I enjoyed the discussion also. Very much agree with Deboho that pretty much 6 different people watched this movie and the different perspective from it are quite enlightening. So yeah, thank you everybody. I really enjoyed the session.
Thank you, Mbali. I think to touch on what you guys have all said, so um, I really enjoyed the different perspectives that we come with. There are things that I missed in the movie that I wouldn't have noticed if we didn't have this discussion. And I also think this wasn't a light movie to watch, right? But we didn't have a deep and heavy and sad conversation. It was light and it was actually very enjoyable to get different people's perspectives. So, yeah, guys, thank you for joining our first Kgosi Film Circle. I wish we had done this sooner, but I think things happen at the time that they need to happen, right? So my heart is full because I was worried. I was like, this movie doesn't seem like there's a lot of talking points, but I feel like even 2 hours is not enough. So we had a really nice discussion, and I'm looking forward to more of these. And I think this platform also opens up to people who don't necessarily read a lot. Like Abigail, I look forward to having your friends join us if you've got movie buff friends. Yeah, next month it is South African Youth Month. It's also International Pride Month. So I am hoping we're watching a queer film. So far, we've got Moonlight, and Leah made a suggestion for another movie. I just forgot what the name is. So please send your suggestions in the group, and then we're going to meet here again 3rd Sunday of June, and we're going to discuss that movie. Thanks, guys, for joining.
Thank you.
Please.
Night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.